All right, so I think this is working now. I'm doing something different than I had planned. Sorry for the delay. I tried this last night on my other channel, my family channel, and the live streaming thing worked just fine last night. I had no problem with that. And then today, I try and live stream to my channel, and I just wouldn't start the stream. Kept trying and kept trying and kept trying, and nothing. So hopefully this is actually live and working. It looks like I'm broadcasting. I think there's people here. So this is going to be a little different than what I normally have set up for these. Normally, in the past, I've used Hangouts on Air with the Q&A app thing, but that doesn't exist anymore. So this is going to be more like a chat and less like a formal Q&A, because I have to be able to watch the feed and pay attention to the chat. So it should be a little bit more on the interesting side, that's for sure. But it looks like people are on here. Hopefully it sounds all right. I'm using my original plan was to use my video camera as a webcam fitting into my laptop instead of using the webcam. It should give a better picture quality in theory, but we'll see. The tests yesterday were pretty good, so the audio should be the same as you would have on one of my videos, and in theory the video quality should be similar as well. So let's do it. I'm waiting for the heater will turn off shortly, I think. Hey, the nice thing with this, I can walk around now. Yeah, the heater will turn off as soon as it's done cycling through this, and then you can probably hear me a little bit better. You should have, there is a delay on the sound. At this point, I don't know what to do. There's not a whole lot I can do at this point. This is kind of a last-ditch effort starting half an hour late, so we'll see. Well, at least the audio is good. You don't need to see my face that well, I guess. All right, so let's get into the questions. Feel free to drop those in, and we'll get to it, I guess. I got to start paying attention. This is going to be a little bit harder. Hey, sounds good, the heater on. Well, thanks. Just be less some background noise. First question from Brittany from France. What was your first power tool? Miter saw. I got a small Ryobi miter saw. I got off of Craigslist for $40. 10-inch miter saw. Worked really well. I used that to build my first workbench and a few other little projects, and I kind of went from there, but that was my starting point. $40 for a miter saw. If I skip your question, it's not, well, it's technically my fault, but I don't do it on purpose because the chat kind of flows. So if I don't get to it, just ask it again, and hopefully I'll see it. And I guess scroll back up again. Where are we? Okay, all right. Any issue cutting frozen wood with a chainsaw mill? No. It's a little bit harder, but overall, it's fine. I do it. I've done it quite a bit. A lot of my chainsaw milling videos take place in the winter months, so it's really not a problem. I like it better because you don't get as hot. When is the next video on the saw? It's done. I uploaded it, or I'm going to upload it. I rendered it this morning. I'll upload it today and do the article about it, and it'll be out tomorrow. So you'll see that in the morning. Otherwise, if you're a Patreon supporter, that'll be in your Patreon thing this afternoon. Besides the mill, what's the next sizable project? The biggest thing will be the highboy that I'm doing for the Wood Whisperer Guild. That'll be a pretty big project. Not just for the scale of it, because it is a big piece of furniture, but because of the level of detail that the project takes for that amount of filming and teaching. All right. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, this is a problem now. I'm switching the screens around. This thing scrolls too fast. Is Festool worth the money? It depends. It depends on your perceived value of the tools and what you want to get out of them. You'll pay a lot more for the Festool tools, but you're buying into the system, and there is a lot higher of a level of user experience. The user experience on Festool is quite good. And if you want to pay for it, go for it. Other tools will do exactly the same thing, and there aren't that, like, functionality wise, there aren't really a whole lot of Festool tools that are functionally better than a comparable tool. But if you want like something that has a really, really good user experience, Festool is going to give it to you, but you're going to pay for it. But if that doesn't matter to you, then don't worry about it. What's up, Joe? Happy Saturday to you as well. Have I started on the guild build? The farmhouse table is the guild build, the next guild build. So that part is done. The table bits are done. I'm going to start on the benches either this afternoon or tomorrow. That's going to go pretty quickly because I'm not really filming that one to the level of detail that I did on the table, because the benches are just a smaller version of the table. For the video on making the benches, it's just going to be more of a follow along the process kind of thing, just to see how it kind of comes together. But the teaching isn't going to be that crazy, because I already showed it in like the 6 videos to make the table. And then that one's starting in January. That'll be available. What's up, AM? My favorite joinery, the dovetail, obviously. Maybe not obviously, but I really like the dovetail. How does the Triton track saw compare to the Festool? It does exactly the same thing. For me personally, I don't use the track saw for anything crazy fancy, so I don't have a whole lot of experience using my Festool saw, doing like installs or crazy stuff like that. When I'm using a track saw in the shop, it's to break down plywood, or to put an edge on a live edge board, or to square up an edge of a board that's too big for my table saw sled or something like that. It works exactly the same. It plunges into the cut, you feed it forward, and the cut's nice and clean, and it cut where the track is. So I really like the Triton saw. It works as well as the Festool saw, and for what I'm doing, it's fantastic. How many square feet is my shop? It is a little over 400 square feet. It is 21 by 20, I think. 22 by 21, something like that. A little over 400 square feet. 2-car garage. Best hand-cut dovetail making tools. Guides, saws, etc. You don't really need a whole lot of tools to cut dovetails, but some tools will make your life a lot easier. With dovetailing, there is definitely a lot more chisel work, so having decent chisels that can get into all of the nooks and crannies that you need to get into, that's probably going to be your best dovetail making tool. Saw isn't that big of a deal. You can use pretty much any saw to cut it. The better the saw, maybe the easier you're able to cut closer to the line. But for me personally, I usually stay away from the line and then chisel back to the line. So it really comes down to decent chisels for me at least. A decent marking gauge. They're pretty cheap. Any marking gauge will work. I prefer a cutting gauge because it actually severs the fibers, as opposed to a marking gauge, which just kind of dents them. Hello. Should I rather buy a big or small bandsaw for hobby woodworking? It really depends on what you're looking to do. If you're trying to do small crafty type stuff, a small benchtop bandsaw will probably be fine. But the problem with the small benchtop ones is that they are not very good. They don't track very well. They vibrate quite a bit depending on the saw, I guess. The cheap one I had a Ryobi, like 9 or 10-inch bandsaw. It was like $150. It was terrible. It was a terrible, terrible saw, and I didn't know it was terrible. I thought all bandsaws just kind of were terrible until I got the 14-inch bandsaw I have now, and it's a whole different tool. It can actually cut straight, it doesn't bog down, and it doesn't vibrate, so you don't have to worry about your work bouncing around on you as you're cutting. But those things aren't really that big of a concern if you're just making small crafty type stuff. You're just cutting small pieces. Stuff like that is fine. But otherwise, a 14-inch bandsaw is probably the best bang for the buck. It doesn't take up a whole lot of space, and it is definitely they're going to be a lot better than the benchtop ones. Benches, question mark. Yes, benches are good. The fly in here. Finding a workbench that works for you might be the hardest part, but if you're just getting into woodworking, any workbench is fine. Any work surface is good. once you kind of figure out your workflow, how you like to work, then you can kind of figure out what workbench is best for me. For me, the Rubo workbench was a fantastic investment in both time and cost. Coming from my old workbench, which was like a 4-foot long workbench made out of 2x4s and a couple of those metal end vices, which were okay, but in reality, the clamping options I have with my Rubo now are phenomenally better than on that other workbench. And I didn't know that at the time because I hadn't done much work with like hand tools and stuff. But once you get into woodworking, you kind of figure out what you like to do and how you work, then you can figure out what workbench is best for you. Oh, I skipped the thing here. Why did I choose to have my sawmill a bandsaw regular instead of a circular saw, more cut width? So basically, what I wanted to do with the bandsaw mill was to essentially replace the chainsaw mill. Not in the sense that I'm not going to do chainsaw milling anymore because I really enjoy that, but I wanted to do the same thing or have the same cut capacity you could have with a chainsaw mill. I'm not interested in making small boards out of big logs. I'm interested in making big boards out of big logs. So a circular mill, to be able to cut boards, 4 feet wide, you need larger than an 8-foot diameter saw blade. Otherwise, you could do it with a 2-foot diameter one, or 2 foot, taking 2 passes if you did like a swing blade, one from each side. But it's really it's a slabbing mill is what it is. How do I deal with cracking cookies? Cookies are really hard to dry. I haven't done a whole lot of them. You kind of have to make sure they dry slowly, and then you need a lot of luck. Control the drying and have some luck. So some product applied to it to help the drying slow down, so either anchor seal or polyethylene glycol will also work. I think that works a little bit better. I haven't experimented with those two things, but I really want to. And just dry them slowly and cross your fingers and hope, because drying something in the round, there's a lot of stress in there. So if you end up with something that doesn't crack, you're very, very lucky. What do I think about the grandfather's clock? It's pretty sweet. I'm probably not going to make it, but Mark did a good job on it. What's my favorite tool? Favorite power tool is my jointer. Favorite hand tool is my dovetail saw. Do I like being sponsored now, or is it more office work? It's no different as far as office work goes. There's no office work that's involved with it, really. It works out really well. I get some revenue coming into the business, and I get to support a great company that actually cares about me. So everybody wins. Have your neighbors ever complained about the noise from your backyard operations? Nope. Why did you choose to have your... I think I just answered that. Why did I choose to have my sawmill use a bandsaw blade cut width? What's the difference between swing mills and bandsaw mills to you? Swing mills will make you some really quick dimensional lumber. So if you're trying to build a house or you're trying to mill a bunch of framing material, swing blades are going to be good for that. You can really easily and quickly take boards, same exact dimension out of a log, and cut up that way. You can do that with the bandsaw mill, a little bit more work, a little more, it's more work with the bandsaw mill. You can still do it. For me, I want the cut width. You can't get that from a swing blade. Dude, Izzy, come up here with that helmet and I'll push you around on that thing. From Levi. What's up, Levi? Do your neighbors watch your videos, and are they fans of what you're doing? Yes. Hello, Matt from Norwalk, Connecticut. Hello. What Festool tools do you have? I have the Domino. I have the ETS 150. I have the Tryon Jigsaw. And I used to have the TS55. And I have the CT36 vac. I think that's all the ones I have. What kind of dovetail is my favorite? I like half lines. Where do I get my sandpaper for my drum sander? I get that from industrialabrasives.com. How long will the highboy take? I have no idea. Hopefully, it needs to take less than next July to make. So the deadline thing kind of helps. But it won't be as bad as the secretary because it's an easier piece of furniture to build than that thing was. It's actually a pretty simple piece of furniture. It just looks a little more complicated, but all it is, it's just a chest of drawers sitting on top of a table with drawers. That's all there is to it. What type of wood am I mostly planning to cut on my sawmill? Whatever I can find. Whatever's out there right now in my driveway. A lot of that. What is my favorite bandsaw resaw blade? Teeth thickness, etc. I use the Lennox TriMaster 1/2 inch 3 TPI. It's carbide. I use that for everything. Will the highboy be like the one you built? I built a secretary desk. The highboy will be a different piece of furniture, different style. Well, similar style, but it will be a different thing, I guess, if that makes sense. Thank you. No. Do I have any tool sponsors? Yes, I'm sponsored by Triton. If you haven't seen all the orange around, they're awesome. Where do I do my finishing work? Right here on this table. I don't really spray ever. I used to a lot when I first started, but I don't spray anymore. I do all hand applied finishes or whatever you want to call them. Here's a good question. How long until your sawmill will be done? You need more mill videos. Well, tomorrow there'll be another mill video with April in it making the idle side assembly, but I have the drive shaft was a custom part that was finished production yesterday. It's on its way here, so I'll have that by the end of next week probably. And at this point, there isn't a whole lot of large scale stuff that has to happen. It's a lot of smaller stuff. So the drive side is gonna be pretty simple. It's just mounting 3 bearings to that side and then attaching the pulley and the wheel, and that side's done. The motor mount is gonna be slightly more complicated. It needs to be mounted above the blade, and the motor has to be able to move to tension the belts. The up-down mechanism is fairly straightforward as well. It's just an Acme rod that's extended with some shafts going into some bearings and then linked by a roller chain. Not super crazy there either. And then I need some way to hold logs down to the bed. I'm going to go super simple on that because I'm going to be changing that out anyway when I do the hydraulic upgrades. So I'm not going to put much time or investment of materials into the log holding stuff because it's going to get changed out to something way, way cooler. Sorry, Joe. Yeah, the highboy is the next project. The farmhouse table is the next project. Highboy will start next summer, as far as the videos go. Do I speak French? Nope, not anymore. I took 6 years of French in elementary school. I don't remember any of it. Sacre bleu. Oh, my wife's watching. Hello, Lindsay. Anything big planned for 100,000 subscribers? I have a long time until I can have to worry about that. Do you prefer carbide tip or traditional wood turning tools? I prefer traditional because they're a little more fun. Videos of the bandsaw mill. I think people like this whole bandsaw mill thing. Tomorrow will be the next one. How long have I been married? 5 years as of last weekend. 5 years as of last Saturday, maybe? Yeah, last Saturday it was 5 years. Aaron, you got your drum sander. I saw that this morning. Hope you got it assembled already. It doesn't take long just to stand, but that's going to save you a lot of time. Making all those cutting boards. Mill videos, mill videos, mill videos. With your working at home setup, do you find it a problem of constantly saying just 5 more minutes to finish up a task and then it's 30 minutes? That's usually how my life goes. I think most people's lives go that way. As far as like who I'm saying it to, probably my wife, depending on what, I have a pretty decent schedule of when I'm working and when I'm not. So it's not usually that big of an issue. When I'm done for family time, and then I'm back to doing something else later on after everybody goes to bed. Recommendation on a dust collection system depends on the size of your shop and the tools you want to collect dust from. Tell you mine is undersized, it's too small for the space, and doesn't work nearly as well as it could if it was bigger. Yes, Lindsay reads all the comments. That's about it. Any suggestions for a budget planer? I'm still getting into woodworking and I can't really invest too much money in a planer yet. Thanks for videos. I've learned a lot so far. Good to hear. Thank you. If you're looking for a budget planer, entry-level planer, they're gonna be all pretty much the same. They'll all work just fine. The advantage you get over a fancier planer is you get different feed speeds or more knives on the cutter head, or easier ways to change out the knives. But for the most part, the cheap ones are all gonna be pretty much exactly the same. Depending on how they function and how well they're set up, they may have more or less snipe than other planers, but there's ways to deal with that as well. But if you're just trying to get into it and saving money, planer is a good way to go because it gets you into the rough sawn lumber market, and that will save you tons of money on materials. Oh, I just skipped ahead. Just a second. This is way harder than the other way. Oh boy. Sorry. Oh, there's a lot of comments here. Apparently I'm really behind. I'm like, I gotta read faster apparently. Okay, is the sawmill going to stay where it is right now? No, it's gonna move. ETA on the bandsaw being put into use. At this point, I'm waiting for the rest of the materials. So the biggest thing is the drive shaft. That's going to kind of hold me back because I need to get that idle wheel, or sorry, get the drive wheel on there before I can do like the blade guides, for instance. So probably if I have all the parts I need and everything figured out, which I do now, 2 weeks should be spinning the blade. So I'm pretty excited about that, actually. What are cookies? Cookies are like the little end grain cuts. So you take a log and you cut a little piece off of it and you got like a round thing. That's like, however thick, that's a cookie. AM says, comments on Matt's channel are surprisingly civil. Yes, thank you all. Let's keep it that way. Do I feel like I'll be biased since I'm sponsored? Not particularly. I think I'd be more biased if the tools or the companies that sponsor me have stuff that sucks, but that's not the case here. When, like, for instance, when Triton approached me, it wasn't like I've never considered like how good their products are or anything like that. So I spent some time doing some research, and everyone's been really happy with the products. I went to Rockler and took a look at the products in person. So not particularly. And the nice thing about the setup that I have with them is they're really awesome. They don't want to force me to use their tools. It's more like organically integrate them into your process and use them that way. So it's not like, I don't know, like I'm going to be biased about this tool is great when it really isn't. If it's not great, you'll hear about it, which is nice. If I had to choose between a jointer / planer / bandsaw for your next tool, what would it be? Probably a bandsaw, but depending on what you want to make is really going to be the deciding factor there. If you need something to resaw or cut curves, bandsaw is going to be the way to go. But if you're looking to get into rough sawn lumber, jointer planer is going to be the way to go. So really, there's a terrible answer. I'm sorry, but it depends on what you want to do. Why did I start making YouTube videos? Well, I started So if you go back on my channel to my first video, I started that video because I wanted to, that was a shop update. I wanted to get better at speaking and talking to people and explaining stuff. It was a personal improvement goal is why I started it. And also because I had always wanted to do it. I tried to make videos for multiple times, multiple occasions. I tried filming myself doing woodworking videos because I wanted to document my learning process as I went along. And that was back in like 2009 when I first started trying. Every single time I got in front of the camera, I just froze and it just didn't work out very well. I got a little bit better at it, but then things kind of got long-winded and didn't really make a whole lot of sense or didn't have a whole lot of cohesion. So I kind of put that idea on the back burner. And then in January 2014, I just decided that, you know what, if I don't start doing it, I'm never going to get better at it. So I should just start. So I just started making these shop updates every week. I didn't tell anyone about it. I just started filming myself talking about stuff I did in the shop because I thought that would be an easy thing to do, but it was not easy apparently to talk about what you did that week. So those videos were like 20 minutes long, but I ended up editing them down to like 5 out of 20 or so because of all the screw ups and like stupid stuff I was talking about just to make them watchable. And it's kind of grew from there, but it's been a heck of a ride. I have dressed apples. Why not build barrels now? Actually, I do want to try coopering. That sounds incredibly fun. So yes, you might see that sometime, but I'm going to need to get some more equipment, like something to make those bands out of and those sweet band hammers. I got to make one of those or get one of those. But I think coopering would be so much fun. What's up, Drew? Financially, do you seek more reward from commissioned work or sponsorships? I don't do any commissions. All my revenue is from either my my guild classes over at the Wood Whisperer Guild, or from advertising either through the ads you see on YouTube or through sponsorships. And I also have revenue from the fantastic people who give me money every month on Patreon and on PayPal.
Answer the dinosaur question.
Where?
What's your favorite dinosaur?
My favorite dinosaur?
I want you to answer that one.
I don't even know if I have a favorite dinosaur.
Well, we'll have to soon.
I guess when JR cares about dinosaurs.
If he ever does.
I don't really know a whole lot of dinosaur names. So
You've seen Jurassic
I'm going to go
Park.
with Brontosaurus because it's got a giant neck.
Uh-huh.
And that sounds fun.
Surprises me since they don't eat meat.
That's fine. They look delicious. I didn't even see that. When did someone ask that? This is so hard to keep up all those questions. Comments on the current American political situation. It's like every other 4-year thing. It's annoying. Do you listen to anything when woodworking? Podcast, music, or books? No, because when I'm woodworking, I have the camera going, and for my videos, I like to include the shop sounds in the video, so I do not listen to anything. I usually work in silence. Ooh. Hey, David. Thanks. David's building a bandsaw mill as well with the 20-horse motor. I'm using, what size motor you're putting on the mill? I'm putting that 10-horse motor right there on the mill. We'll see how that goes. But as an aside, a lot of people told me that's too small. You should see what I do with a chainsaw mill that has nowhere near that amount of power. I'm not in it for speed. It's too much. I think I might have to skip down a little bit. I'm too far behind. I answered that already. This is going from Joe. How do you like the festival vac versus traditional shop vacs? Are there any differences? And if there are, what are the differences? That is way more powerful than my shop vac. It will suck anything through a garden hose. So you have a lot more suction coming out of the tool, so you can pull anything out of the tool you need to. You also have the variable speed on there, or the variable suction speed, or variable CFM speed, whatever you want to call it. That's great for sanders. With the sander, the problem with using a shop vac on a sander is you have too much suction on it. It pulls the sandpaper down to the workpiece, and then you end up with swirls because it's just like putting pressure or putting a lot of pressure down on the orbital sander. Same thing there. So you can reduce the suction power on there, which is really a nice feature to have. A gold date. I've already passed like 3 gold dates. So I don't know if I want to make one, but it should be almost done in 2 weeks. I got a little bit of a time crunch. And now that like I got through WIA and I got through a few other things that I was trying to get done, like the Apple presses, I've kind of freed up some time here to actually work on it on a more consistent basis. So what's actually interesting about my timeline of that build is if someone who has a day job, I can only work on that project on evenings and weekends, the duration of time it's taking me is going to be about the same as someone who has that same setup. Because I don't work on it every day, I can maybe get like 1 day in a week just working on it. So if we want to build the same project, it's taking me about it's probably going to take me like 4 months. Probably about the same for someone who has only weekends and evenings to work on it. How do I keep the streaks and swirls out of several coats of wiping varnish? What is my technique? If you haven't seen my finishing process video, check that out. But the biggest thing is the finish has to be able to flow out to fill out all of the divots or the track marks. So working quickly to get the finish on there before it starts tacking up is the best way to go. And the last thing I do before I call a finished level or finished layer done is I I wipe it all back really gently just to kind of smooth things out, get rid of any swirls or kind of patterns in the finish, which helps to thin it out a little bit and gets rid of all of the streaking. Here's a going from Rick. Do you plan on putting a strobe light on top of your sawmill to avoid collisions with commercial aircraft? I probably should. Favorite pizza topping? Cheese? Or is that just the default? What are my favorite woods to build projects from? I really like working with walnut. Cherry is also good as well, but walnut just has a really good... I prefer the look of cherry for like a finished piece, but the workability of walnut is incredible. I really enjoy the workability of it. Gotta scroll forward again. I'll be making the high boy out of cherry, the same as the secretary. Here's a good one from Scott. Are most of the builds for the guild going to be period pieces? I don't think Mark would let me do that. I'm going to try and have him let me do maybe like 1 a year. We'll see how the sales of the Highboy go. From MK Knives, hello from Germany. Hello. Do you like flea markets / garage sales for getting nice old tools? I don't know. I haven't really gone to many. I just don't have time to go searching, I guess. But I think having a decent flea market would be kind of fun to go to. I know when I was down in Ohio and I went over to Chop with Chris's shop, he goes to flea markets all the time, and he has some pretty good success there. So I'm not sure if they just have good flea markets there in Ohio or what, but the ones that he goes to, I would love to go to one of those. Besides woodworking, do you have any other hobbies or interests? No, not anymore. I don't have time for them. Where do you source your logs? Do you have friends or contacts in a tree service? Do you post ads online? I don't post ads online. I do have a few contacts from tree services, but I don't use any of them because I don't have the space or capacity to be cutting logs all the time. So I just find them on Craigslist where people have them posted already. Total cost of the sawmill, I originally said it was going to be around $5,000. It's probably more than that now. I've been kind of splurging here and there. Since I only want to do this once, but it'll probably be around $7,000 or so by the time I'm done. The cider was awesome. I loved it. I can't wait for the hard cider to be ready. Do I like my Rikon bandsaw? Yes, I do. I've had it for 6 years. Still going. Why don't you move the non-powered wheel instead of the motorized one? If you're referring to the bandsaw mill, that's exactly what I'm doing. The idle wheel is moving. Where did I learn all the technical aspects of the sawmill build? just on the other side of that garage door in the driveway. Pancake wants to go inside. Just a second.
You're bitter.
She's right there.
Are you done?
Like 15 minutes.
My mom's here.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. AM says I could talk about my lumber collection for 100,000, kind of like Jimmy DeRessa does for every 100,000. Found on the streets of Minnesota. How many horsepower is the motor for the bandsaw? It's 10 horsepower. Answered that one already. Besides finishing the bandsaw mill, what major tools are on your wish list? From like a woodworking tools or from metalworking tools? Woodworking tools, I need a dust collector. I need a new dust collector. That thing is too small. I want to get a new one. I want to get one of those small cyclone things. And for metal tools, I am kind of wanting a metal lathe. I don't know where I'm going to put it, but I kind of want one because that looks like it'll be a lot of fun. What did I think of IWF in Atlanta? I thought that was just mind-blowing. That was the biggest thing I've ever been at. There was so much to look at, and I didn't even have time to look at it all. But it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I went. I met a lot of great contacts there at other companies. Why do I live in Minnesota? My wife went to law school at the U of M, and that's about it. I followed her here. And somehow I got skipped down the bottom again. Dang. That's annoying. You guys talk a lot. This is good. How late am I in the shop? Usually. I don't know, whenever I go to bed. I go to bed around 1 in the morning, so I could be out here till 1. I used to work later than that out here. No problem. I have considered making a pizza peel. My wife is still waiting for one. I am not Jewish, no. Okay, where did you purchase the band wheels and the Acme thread rod and bearings? The band wheels are from Cook Saw. The idle shaft is from Cook Saw. The Acme thread rod and bearings, the bearings for the drive side are from Cook Saw as well. The bearings for the raised lower mechanism and the Acme thread rod is from surpluscenter.com. It is going to be stationary because it's too wide to tow without a permit. Hey, Fred, you made it. I had my stickers made at Sticker Mule. How do I think my big table will do outside? From Opa. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I made it. I can fix it. That's kind of my philosophy with those things. The thing with the table is probably the most heavily wearing part is going to be the top from rain and UV from the sun. And it's also the easiest thing to refinish because it's just a flat surface. So if the finish starts to fail, pretty easy to go over it with the sander, knock the finish down and apply a few new coats of finish. So I don't know. I'll be fine. How is the sponsorship going to play out as far as other tools? Will we be able to say things about other products or you got to remain neutral? No, I can talk about whatever I want for the most part. I've never really been a whole lot of like a tool reviewer or like that kind of thing. So it doesn't really, nothing's really going to change in that sense. The only thing you might see now is that I try to cover up all the logos of the companies that don't pay me because I want it to be fair for the ones that do. Am I going to put a roof over the sawmill? I'm planning on putting like some corrugated metal or something on top of the carriage to keep the rain off of the carriage parts. and snow. What do I think of Matisse's bandsaws? They're cool. I don't know. They're bandsaws. I got no opinion, I guess. Other than they're cool. Who are the most inspiring YouTube woodworkers for you that aren't too well known? I'm not really sure off the top of my head. I don't know where you draw the line at not well known, I guess. Probably Guy's Woodshop, probably one of the best ones. He does some really amazing stuff. He's a really awesome guy. He was my first subscriber. So I'll say that as I don't know off the top of my head, but Guy comes to mind immediately. What's on my hunting to-do list? Lindsay's watching the chat. I'm sure she'll put some things in there. Let's see. Could I make a video on chainsaw maintenance? What kind of maintenance do you want to see? I did a video on chainsaw on the idle pump, not the idle pump. Wow, I got bandsaw mill in my mind. On the oil pump replacement. So that was a pretty big look at the innards of a chainsaw on the whole clutch side. So let's start, I guess. But let me know what specifically you want to see with chainsaw maintenance, and I can probably, it's pretty easy to put a video together about that. Would I buy my bandsaw again? From Dale. What's up, Dale? I guess you're referring to the bandsaw in here, my indoor bandsaw is what I call it now. Yeah, it was a good buy. I think I paid $700 or $800 for it at the time. Chugs right along. So the only thing I wish I had was just bigger. But again, I don't really have a whole lot of space. Bigger saw would be nice, but as far as 14-inch saws go, that one's pretty good. Okay, I'm kind of jumping down here. Sorry if I missed anything crazy. I think I've answered a lot of these already. Answered that already. What's up, Guillaume? He's in here, the Belgian woodworker. He did a video the other day. I sent him some stickers and he made a cool little plaque for him. So if you see him in the chat, check out his channel. Let's see. How close am I to Chanhassen, Minnesota? My brother and sister all live there. I'm in Brooklyn Center. Chanhassen is maybe 25, 30 minutes away. Pretty much directly south of here. I have some skinny maple tables, 22 inches by 7 feet. Do I need to be super concerned about expansion at the width? Depending on where you live and the humidity swings, that tabletop could expand by up to 1/8 or not, maybe even more than that. So yeah, I would be concerned. It's actually not that skinny. Am I using dominoes for the table guild, for the farmhouse table? I use dominoes to help align the tabletop when I did the glue up, but that was the only dominoes I used in there. Everything else is all integral mortise and tenon drawboard. The fun fact from Fred. Did you know the National Park Service is the government agency with the most branches? Get it? Why does this always skip? Ah, sorry, guys. Okay, back to the branches again. How do I have time for this? It's Saturday. If I'm moving the idle wheel, why does your motor mount have to be movable? So you can tension the belt that goes from the motor to the drive shaft. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to make it slide on some rails. You could do like a hinge to put some tension on the belt. Lots of different ways to do that. I want to make a solid wood recipe box out of walnut, struggling with how to build the build top with no end grain while still accommodating wood expansion. You can do like little baby breadboard ends, but those still technically have end grain. Depending on how small it is, it might not matter. If it's within like 4 inches wide or something, I wouldn't even worry about it. How do I plan to protect my big table outside? The finish on it is a marine varnish, so it shouldn't really take much protecting. In the winter, I'll put a tarp on it just to keep the snow and the extra moisture off of it, but for the most part, it's just going to live out there. See, I knew metal lathes would be fun. South Bend 9-inch lathe. I'll take a look on Craigslist. I haven't looked for a while. What was my old job? I did software design. I did like UI design, and I worked with like product management, product development, stuff like that. A lot of planning and implementation. Having used a hollow chisel drill press accessory, how does it compare to a standalone mortiser? It does exactly the same thing, but it's a huge pain in the butt. How much have we got to that bandsaw mill so far? I gotta look at the numbers. I haven't looked for a while. Probably 6,000 or 7,000 right now. Thanks, Jason. What are my thoughts on using a table saw sanding disc kit? I've never used one. I suppose they're fine. I wouldn't put too much side load on it though, or do any aggressive sanding because those bearings aren't really made for that in your table saw. But if you're doing some light sanding, it shouldn't be a problem. Do I know the sex of the baby, and do you have a name picked out yet? No and yes. Yes, exactly. From watching ClickSpring's videos, that's exactly the problem. Do I have any plans on expanding my shop or property property for all of the milled wood? I plan on expanding my property in the sense that I plan on moving from this place to a larger facility / home / lot. Am I worried about injury, such as fingers? No more than you probably should be, I suppose. My boy is good. He's, what, 15 months now already? 10 kilos, that kid. What do I think of these multi-tools? Which multi-tools are you referring to? Have I picked out the first log and went to mill, and what type of wood will it be? I'm going to cut a small piece of box elder for the first time because I don't want to jump right to the big stuff right away. What was my woodworking experience before 2009? 1 year. For a newbie with limited budget, what's better, a circular saw versus track saw? You can make a track for any circular saw. Track saw is just better in the user experience side of things. But you can use an edge guide, or you can make your own track for a circular saw. I have a track for my my skill saw, and I have a track for my beam saw. So you can make them yourself. And they work just the same. Oh, did I start woodworking in 2009? I started in 2008. How long did I follow Mark to Colorado? Long time. What's my dancing style? Sporadic would be a good way to put it. And this thing skipped again. What's up, Bob? What is the difference between air-dried and kiln-dried lumber? Kiln-dried lumber actually changes the structure of the wood fibers themselves. The kiln, if you're looking to like do it yourself, kiln will get the moisture content down lower than you could if you were air drying outdoors, and also kill any insects. Air dried lumber is you can actually, well, at least for me, I can tell the difference between air dried lumber and kiln dried lumber in workability. Air dried lumber works really, really easily. It doesn't split, doesn't seem as like splitty as kiln dried or brittle. So for like bending or for making dowels through a dowel plate, it's actually a lot easier to make dowels. I found this out last week. I had a piece of kiln dried lumber that I was trying to make dowels out of. I could not get those things to go through the dowel plate. They just break every single time, even though the grain is perfectly straight, like I always would normally do them. And I grabbed a piece of air dried stock. I had no problem getting that thing through the dowel plate. Kind of funny. Have fun in the shop, Bob. I'm mostly a hand tool user, but I want to get my first power tool, table saw or bandsaw. Probably bandsaw. I think that would probably work out really well if you use hand tools and you're really comfortable with hand tools already. You're probably cutting all your joinery and stuff by hand, and unless you really want to start cutting joinery on the table saw, it's probably not necessary. You can do a lot of your ripping cuts and your resawing on the bandsaw. It's going to save you a lot of time just moving a handsaw back and forth. But if you're looking, you're probably like enjoy doing joinery by hand, so I would just stick with the bandsaw then. Why no lateral bracing on the carriage of the bandsaw mill in the direction where pressure will be put? It's just not there yet. It will be. I'm leaving it off at this point because I want to make sure that the beam stays stiff enough or stable enough to the cut to just in case if it for some reason does something weird like this, then I will put another set of Acme rods on the back side of that area. I need that back side to be open and not braced so I can do that without the braces getting in the way. Where did I learn to weld? Right over there. What kind of welder did I use for all my huge projects from Mike? I use that Lincoln BuzzBox, the stick welder for everything. It's the only welder I have. It's the only welder I've used. Why does it skip all the time? Yeah, it's annoying. I just start here, I guess. Oh, that's pretty close. Hey, Brian. How often do you collect wood, and do you pay for your wood? I collect wood. I used to collect it a lot more when I had space for it. I got quite the queue going right now of stuff that needs to get cut. So I haven't done it in like, 4 or 5 months, and I don't pay for it, no. What do I love most? Slow speed wet grinder machine or a high speed grinder for your chisels? I just got the wet grinder. Haven't actually used it yet, but I use a slow speed grinder for all my actual like grinding needs. Will you have a tow truck to move the mill when you move, or can you just get it on the log trailer? I will be renting I need to rent some kind of loading device, either a forklift or a skid loader when I move from this place anyway, because I'll probably have all the slabs I have to take with me. I have to get the big stuff out of the shop, so I need to have that equipment here to get stuff moved, and then I'll just rent a flatbed trailer to move the track and the carriage. The carriage needs to go 90 degrees from the way it is right now. It's actually be towable or on a trailer or whatever. So I'll pick it up off the track, turn it 90 degrees, and drop it on a trailer. JR is a much better dancer than I am. What do I do for a living? You probably cannot make a living from making movies online. I make movies online for a living. What are some good resources to learn about different periods of furniture style? SAFM, the Society of American Period Furniture Makers, is going to be the best resource for that. I am a member of that organization. They put out publications that you can look at and all that fun stuff, but I would say that's probably your best way to go. If you're looking for like construction styles, there's a lot of books out there as well on different making period furniture and the details that go into it. If you're looking at specific like period furniture carvings, there's books and resources just about that. Matt, if you want more information on those specific books or whatever, just shoot me an email. I'll send you some books, links to books. Thank you, Rick. How long have you been involved in woodworking? 8 years now. All right, I'm gonna answer a couple more, and then we'll call it a day. This is getting a little long. What are your stickers made out of? For drawing wood, not for decorating the tool cabinet. I make them out of pretty much anything. I know you're not supposed to make them out of anything because you could have some sticker staining that could happen mixing species together. The majority of them are made from cherry. I have them made out of maple, and basically whatever I have for offcuts or whatever pieces of wood don't dry well or split excessively, those just become sticker stock. So I use whatever I have. I honestly don't have any problem with mixing species and having severe staining from those mixings. That's never been a problem for me. I've made them out of plywood. I've made them out of MDF. They all seem to work just fine. So that's my experience with stickers, at least. Douglas, how you doing, man? I was hoping someone would ask you about this scary thing. Oh, all right. I got this motor from my friend Austin. He brought me this motor and that motor in September. This is a 3-phase motor. It's a 1.8 horsepower 3-phase motor. I'm going to take this scary thing off of here and put a sprocket on it and use it to control the up and down motion of the bandsaw mill. But this is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life as far as shop equipment goes. I don't think I want to be anywhere near this thing when it's spinning. Thanks, Ross. What are the worst accidents in the shop that you've had? I've been lucky. I haven't had anything super crazy. 2 of my worst ones have been with the planer and the lathe. With the planer, when I take the boards out the planer, I like to support the end to reduce snipe and just catch the board as it comes off. So I had the planer set up to feed boards across the shop, so directly behind me. And as the board feeds through here, eventually, if it's long enough, it'll get over to the desk area. So I was standing there, holding the board, waiting for it to come off. Didn't realize how long the board was or where my hand was. So my hand got caught between the end of the board and the desk. And if you have a stationary planer, you know those feed rollers, they just keep feeding. So my hand was pinched between the board and my shop desk, and it actually pushed the planer across the floor, which finally freed my hand. I was lucky, didn't break anything, a little bit of bruising, nothing crazy. The other one was on the lathe. I was hollowing a bowl, and the tool rest broke, which caused the end of the bowl gouge to severely catch, and that threw the bowl gouge into my rib, and then it bounced or something and hit me in the cheek and knocked the face shield right off of me. Actually, it went underneath the face shield and right in the cheek. That was the worst one. Well done.
Asking you.
You want to say hi?
I look like crap.
Questions for Lindsay?
There are none. I look like a gross person.
I see you wear my flip-flops.
I am. I see you're frozen.
That's just me. I'm up there.
Oh.
See? That's you.
Yeah. Looks just like it's frozen, doesn't it? Well, you've been doing this for quite a while.
How long has it been? An hour?
I think so.
Really?
The dryer's almost done.
Oh.
That's 80 minutes.
All right. Well, we'll call it then. I think at the bottom. I caught up. That's impressive.
Did you? Answers questions. I have
Mafia connections. I'm sure you do, Bob. Did I miss your questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. Oh, I must have missed Bob's questions. I'm sorry, Bob.
Also, it's Lindsay with an A. Very important to me.
It's okay.
Well, someone wants to ask a question. They better rewrite it right now. Otherwise,
right now, the first question that pops in.
As you then scroll around.
It's so hard to scroll through this
Then
thing.
don't scroll. Just leave it.
Any Canadian woodworking shows planned?
Canadian.
Not that I know of. I think we're not going. No one's invited me to any, and I don't think I'm doing any traveling to Canada anytime soon.
No.
No, not with the baby
Pushing
thing.
a baby out, so it'll be a busy winter without anything else.
Yeah.
Without any travel plans.
I'll be in Vegas next July for AWF. That's it.
Look that way. Don't look at me.
I'm talking to you. That's the only one that's for sure. I may be in the UK in September next year. And I think I'm doing anything in the spring. I don't know. Not at this point. Nothing's scheduled. That's the only thing that's scheduled. And I guess I'll probably go to WIA, wherever that is.
Be nice with Minneapolis. I would like that. That would be a first. Otherwise, if you want a video on how to like redo ceilings, Matt's dad is going to redo ceilings this week.
I don't think he wants me to film him.
Why not?
Hey, Dad. What are you doing?
Want to see some real tedious work.
All right. You guys all have a great Saturday?
It's Saturday.
Have a great Saturday. And I'll catch you all online. And
we're going to eat some pumpkin pie now. I know, my mom made it homemade from real pumpkin, not like the jar.
Oh, so much pie to eat. So much pie to eat.
Oh, no.
It's so hard. I have a hard life. All right. I'll see you later. I'll see you on the internet. Look for the sawmill video tomorrow. And
feel free to bug them to update the vlogs. I do too, so.
I'll edit some vlogs too. Maybe. Yes, I'll do it. All right.
It's raining, so I'm fine.
Is it possible to ban something into a rolling trailer-like thing? Yes, absolutely. You need a permit to move it. It's too wide. The end. Have a great day. How do I stop this?
I don't know.
Uh-oh.
What?
There we are.
Now you stop it.
Goodbye for real.
God, that looks so gross.